Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode 108. In this week's episode, I unpack the challenge of handling people who don't love you, of people who don't admire you, of people who don't want to be with you, of people who tell others how bad you are or how incompetent you are, or indeed throw such accusations directly into your face. The powerful mantra I'm sharing with you this episode had a big impact on me when I first heard it way back in 1993. It's a wonderful, wonderful, usable mantra. What other people think of me is none of my business. I consider the risks for you of embracing this because it's so wonderful when people say wonderful things about us, when people love us. And I consider the enormous benefits to you of living by this principle. Stay around for further liberation from the mind traps of those around you. For regular viewers and listeners, we've changed the format of the show so you can get into the content rapidly. The foundational principles of the show and details of my background and my background philosophy are now located at the end of each week's unique content. And a further change, my review of what's happened in the past week in the world and in my life and Julie's life now come after the show's unique topic content. So let's get into today's big idea. I love it when people love me. I love it when they admire me. I love it when they want to be with me, when they seek to be with me. But strangely, not everyone does. Not everyone does love me or admire me or want to be with me. Or indeed, I love it when they say nice things about me. Not everyone says nice things about me. And it's the same with you. So how do you handle this? How do you handle this very common challenge? I suggest you adopt the principle that what other people think of you is none of your business. I want you to say it now to yourself. What other people think of me is none of my business. I learned it back in 1993. It's a wonderfully powerful idea. It's a very insightful strategy for living life, deeply rooted in thousands of years of philosophical thought. So it's not just a catchy little mantra. There is deep, deep philosophy behind it, deep self-awareness. Embracing this is part of your self-awareness journey. And there's another benefit about this, that it spins off to the next mantra. What other people say about me is none of my business. They will be gossiping about you. They will be gossiping about me. This challenge is different in family situations, with friends that you think you have, in friendly groups, in the workplace, in community groups, in charity groups. I'm involved in a number of not-for-profit groups, in sporting teams. How many of you are in sports teams where you really don't like some of your teammates? Or, heaven forbid, they don't like you. Or they don't think very highly of you. The risks of this mantra in each of those circumstances vary slightly, and the benefits are also varying slightly. So, why don't they love you? How is it possible that not everyone loves you? Mainly because you don't do what they want you to do. You don't behave as they want you to behave. Heaven forbid, how could you possibly not behave like another person wants you to behave? Imagine that. Now remember from earlier episodes, I've pointed out the fact that you are a weirdo. Everyone around you is a weirdo. Your parents are weirdos. Not just unique, but weird. So in any relationship, you have two weirdos who come together. Each one of them with a weird bunch of ideas, weird bunch of beliefs, weird bunch of philosophies. This is the challenge of Christianity. That's why it's difficult to be a Christian, because Christian principles say you have to love your neighbour regardless of what they say about you, how unkind they are to you. The demands of Christ's message is to love your neighbour regardless of what they think about you. It's very easy to love people who are nice and think nice thoughts about you. Although talking about love, I just love my coffee. It's difficult to be a Christian. There are risks involved in adopting this principle. When people tell lies about you, the law provides remedies of defamation. And when people gossip about you and then other people don't want to be with you because of what they've heard via gossip from another person, hard to imagine, isn't it? So you go, no, I have to fight for them. I'm worried about what other people say. Yeah, that's the risk. You might lose your job because somebody has told lies about you, because the employer or the boss believed somebody else contrary to the facts. Or it might be that someone above you simply doesn't like you, and then they go up the line and they take steps to get rid of you from that workplace. In sporting teams, if people don't like you and can't play with you, then they'll cause difficulties for you. You know, then we call that bullying. And then you say, well, how could that be none of my business? Or if somebody accuses you of being a racist, you're a racist. Well, that sort of behaviour, you're a racist. You say, well, what other people say to me is none of my business. Well, there's different circumstances in, you know, you have to, your self-awareness around this, by unpacking this mantra in your life, you go, why is this a big deal? And in certain situations, you might fight for legal principles. You might fight for rights that you have under contract law with your employer, and you might choose to take defamatory proceedings against somebody to stop them telling lies. I get that. But I'm talking about that's just part of the game of life without you being deeply hurt and upset about this. You can take steps to protect your position, but you don't have to be hurt by what other people think, what other people say. The benefits of this mantra are that it liberates you. It liberates you to live life on your terms. It liberates you from the mind traps of others. It enables you to let your true genius, your true weirdness flurry. If you're constantly worried by what other people think of you, then you will constantly be second guessing. I can't say that, I can't be like that, because they might not like it. I might not be loved. That is so diminishes your genius. And I say to you that the benefits for you of embracing this mantra are that you are able to be you. And this is part of the self-awareness journey, that you become aware, you wake up to the fact that, gosh, I've been stopping myself from being true to me because I've been so concerned about what other people think of me. It's none of your business. I've been concerned about what other people say to me. It's none of your business in many circumstances. And again, I say that this is where nuance comes in. That's the basic mantra, and then you apply that mantra in different circumstances. So, the book that I recommend that will help to reinforce this, I quite frankly don't know if it's still available, but it's called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel J. Smith, PhD. And the subtitles to it are you letting people walk all over you? Are you being manipulated into sexual encounters? Are you asking for a raise and not getting it? It has 10 assertive rights, a Bill of Assertive Rights. And the first one of these is, you have the right to judge your own behaviour, thoughts and emotions, and to take the responsibility for their initiation and consequences upon yourself. It's a terrific book. I hope you can find it, or find other books on assertiveness training. And if you find one that's brilliant and current, send it through to me. My quote this week is from Epictetus, one of Julie's favourite Greek thinkers, philosophers. And it comes from the Daily Stoic, and it's from the day from yesterday, from May the 7th. Very, of course, very relevant to this topic. How to have a good day. God laid down this law, saying, if you want some good, get it from yourself. How about that? If you want some good, get it from yourself. And Ryan Holiday, who has some nice little unpacking of these quotes, he says, here's how to guarantee you have a good day. Do good things. Any other source of joy is outside your control or is non-renewable, but this one is all you, all the time and unending. It is the ultimate form of self-reliance. That's pretty good, isn't it? Do good yourself. If you want some good, get it from yourself. Don't wait for it from others. You don't need it from others. You don't need to be loved and have all of this stuff from others. It's wonderful to be in loving circles. Great. Find the weirdos that do that, but do not worry about the weirdos who don't love you, who don't admire you, who don't think you're a superstar. My spiritual tip is to meditate on ways that you could possibly imagine that your, let's call them your enemies, that your enemies might be lovable. People who don't like you, who don't want to be with you, or who you think are shocking and whatever, meditate on how is it possible that they could be lovable. And it shifts your thinking from this enemy space to this, think about these people in new ways. Because the picture in your mind of these people is not necessarily true. It's an idea that you've created in your mind. My health tip for you comes from various pains that people have in their body, including Julie, who has certain pains in her body. And she had the experience of going to a chiropractor because she thought she had a sore foot. In fact, it was her hamstring. And when you think about how could that be? Well, that's the point, that each person, each body therapist that you go to, if you've got a physical pain, you think it's at that point, but there's a causation factor. And for Julie, her sore foot came from her hamstring. That was a new one on me. I've also spoken to people who have had experiences with dentists where body alignment and dentistry is linked, and what's happening in your mouth is linked to the rest of your body. So keep it to the physical and think about whether a physio, an osteopath, a chiropractor, you go to somebody else and say, hey, where's the problem here? New people have new insights into the way your body works. There's not just one truth about your body. My song. And my song is relevant because if you adopt this mantra, it enables you to achieve the message in this song, which was sung by Sammy Davis Jr. Famous song. Gonna build a mountain from a little hill. Gonna build me a mountain. Least I hope I will. It's called Gonna Build a Mountain. And there's a verse here that says, gonna build a heaven from a little hell. Gonna build me a heaven, and I know darn well, if I build my mountain with a lot of care and take my daydream up the mountain, heaven will be waiting there. So take your daydream and build it and build it by being true to yourself. It's an exciting. When I re-listen to the lyrics of this song, I know the song very well and go, wow, that's a new insight into it. Build the mountain of your daydream, and you will find heaven there. And now for a spot of humour. This really shows different realities as to why you might love somebody and why you might not care to be with certain people, or why they might think that you're less than perfect. A portly, scowling gentleman walked into one of those English trains where people ride in separate compartments. He pulled out a large cigar and was about to light it when he noticed the only other passenger in the compartment was a thin, rabbity fellow who was looking at him with what was clearly apprehension. The man with the cigar said gruffly, "I hope you don't mind my smoking this cigar." "Not at all," said the other, "provided you don't mind me throwing up." How's that for different realities? And there's another little spot of humour. A guest leaving a party shook his host's hand warmly and said, "Don't think this hasn't been a wonderful party," but it hasn't. You see, whether a party was wonderful or not, you go to a party, the host thought it was terrific, maybe it wasn't. So, think about how today's big idea can make a difference to your life. A life that I believe is meant to be everything that you're capable of making it. Of the mountain that you're capable of building that's in your daydream. While you're drinking coffee, of course. My aim for this show is to provoke you, inspire you, motivate you to examine your life now, to keep doing so for the rest of your life, so you keep increasing your self-awareness, enabling you to make better and better decisions. And that's what the self-awareness and passion quest is about, to guide you, help you raise that level of self-awareness. I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel or to this podcast, depending on where you are watching or listening. Go and visit the websites coves.com, charlescoves.com, where you can sign up for Passion Points to Ponder, and there's a bunch of resources on each of those sites, including the manifesto for the self-awareness and passion quest. Corporate programs, corporate solutions, public programs can be found at coves.com. You can access my books Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance at both of those websites. Now, let's review some key happenings in the world and in my life over the last week. Well, in Australia, the federal electioneering goes on. It's 2 weeks till the federal election. There are 151 seats in the lower house and then a bunch of seats in the Senate, in the upper house. And the major parties, the left and the right, the Conservatives and Labor, the Liberals and Labor, they are on the nose in significant ways. This is a policy-free election. They're throwing money around left, right and centre. Just understand that when governments throw money at you, someone has to pay. The debt level of the Australian government is going through the roof. And the Liberals used to have a mantra, "Oh yes, we're good money managers." Now they're saying, "Oh, our debt level is a lower percentage of Australia's GDP than it is for many other countries, and lower than what Labor would do, blah, blah, blah." Handing money out like candy to kids. Do your own thinking. I don't trust either of the leaders of any of the major parties, Liberal, Labor, Greens or Nationals. I think the government overreach that's been allowed in this country to take away your freedoms has been corrupt, has been criminal, has been disgusting, has been disgraceful. I think the same of most countries around the world, of their response to a tiny little thing that they're so teaching us to be so scared of. In the Russian-Ukraine debate, there's some more and more interesting information coming out about what's truly going on Beware of just relying on mainstream media, and beware of suddenly becoming a geopolitical expert. I'm constantly willing to have an open mind, I think, on issues, but these are complicated geopolitical issues, and the stuff that I have read from alternative media, stop thinking that Ukraine good, Russia bad. That doesn't take away from the suffering of individual people in Ukraine and Russian soldiers, young guys who are out there. I don't know how many women are in it, but it's not good, but there's lots of not good being done by politicians who like you to think I'm good, they're bad. More and more evidence comes out that Joe Biden is non-compass, is just a puppet for other interests. During the week, more and more information is coming out that the World Health Organization is seeking more powers to have sovereignty over 194 countries, so that the WHO wants to be able to declare a pandemic on any trumped up reasons that it wants to, because the definition of pandemic is no longer a pandemic, but whatever the WHO says that it is. And then when it declares one, it then says we claim the ability to control all health responses in your country. I say be aware of it, and I say this is outrageous, it is wrong, it is criminal, and must be resisted. So please take an interest in the WHO. The WHO is not to be trusted. It is an arm of the United Nations that is not to be trusted. During the week, I've been running seminars for people who have lost their jobs. They're asking what remedies are there. There are a number of remedies, and the law of tort is quite an interesting one. There are also plenty of people who have had health damage caused to them. The numbers are becoming damning. Observe them, and don't be swayed by the lies in the mass media that says, oh, those health issues are caused by something else. And in the meantime, during the week, I've had a terrific week, working hard, working 70 hours a week, moderating a number of global groups in discussions, great insights from some world experts, continuing to exercise, take care of my health. I hope you continue to exercise. Julie continues her exercise. What you put into your body has a big impact on how you feel, on your ability to function and ability to work like I do for 70, 75 hours a week. I will continue to fight for freedom. Freedom is what makes you human. I'm not going to give up the fight for freedom for people to be free to live lives on the way they want to. I will not make my decisions based on fear. Gosh, what happens if I don't comply with the government narrative? So, if you're new to the show, stick around now for the last part, where I share the foundational principles for this show and my background and my deep philosophical basis for what I share with you, and the work that I've been doing for the last 28 years, indeed, that I've been building up for since I was about 8 years of age, when I wanted to be a lawyer, because fighting for people's legal rights is one of the key elements of preserving our freedom. Again, thanks for watching and listening, and until our next show, may your week be full of health-giving passion, learning, fun, fulfillment, challenge, and ever-increasing self-awareness. And the last thing I want to bring to your attention is to listen to yesterday's episode of tntradio.live, where I interviewed two very interesting people. You will find those conversations to be of value. We'll put the link in the chat so you can find tntradio.live and the program that I host every fortnight for 2 hours. I interview two guests worth listening to. Thanks. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covest.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.